Hi, everybody. It's Miss Corbett here. It's nearing 1 o'clock on Tuesday, September 8th. I hope everyone had a lovely and restful Labor Day weekend. I have now finished reviewing all of our work in Module 3. So as you know, it's time for our class notes video where we talk a bit about what we've done, why we did it, and where we're going next. So in Module 3, we learned a lot about character development, points of view, aspects of narratives that we're going to continue to consider throughout the semester. We'll read pieces told in other points of view, and you'll want to be thinking about how the author's decision about point of view affects the stories we're told and the relationships we develop with the characters. For instance, how would The Murder of Roger Ackroyd be different if it were in third person omniscient? Or even if it were still in first person, but told in an entirely different point of view, like Poirot's or Caroline's. Such decisions have drastic effects on the story told, how it's structured, and the ways in which we engage with it. We also got a chance to apply some of these character terms and concepts, the techniques of character development, to our analyses of different characters in the discussion boards. I really enjoyed reading your close readings of these characters. And close reading, by the way, is exactly what you were doing here. Again, we're like detectives. We're considering the evidence to reach conclusions. That's what a close reading is. We looked at things the characters said, what they did, how they interacted with each other to help us determine what our impressions of them are. That kind of close reading is exactly what we're going to be doing in our upcoming critical literary analyses. So good practice with those discussion boards. In our Module 3 reading journals, a lot of us chose to consider character further by weighing in on who you like the most or the least, or on whether Poirot manages to be likable despite his arrogance and despite the fact that Christie so famously hated him. I asked these questions about likability because considering our reactions to characters is a good place to start with character analysis. When we notice our impressions and our reactions, then we can think critically about them, thinking, okay, but why do I like him? Why do I dislike him? And we can start to understand why and how Christie built them in a way to lead us to have the relationships with them we do, and how the way she built them affects the plot. As you'll recall from the Golden Age intro video, this style of detective literature is plot-driven, not character-driven. So the characters are typically far less complex and developed than we'll see in later texts. The Murder of Roger Ackroyd is no exception to this style, this typical part of the style. That's why I like to introduce these fundamental elements of character with this book. It gives us the opportunity to practice identifying traits and reaching conclusions about characters before we dive into texts that offer more complex and even contradictory characters. But even with these less developed players, we can still start to consider why character matters and what our relationships with them can do for us as readers. In-depth character analysis might start with simple questions about who we like and don't like, but one of the benefits of fiction is that we get access to all the characters, regardless of how we feel about them, which means we can get to know even the most unlikable people without having to spend time with them in real life. We can consider and understand and maybe even relate to their motivations, which help us better understand and interact with all people in our lives. Many of us saw this in action in our reading journals, noting that our favorite characters weren't always perfect, or our least favorite characters weren't always all bad. Many people, for instance, selected Caroline as their favorite character, but still acknowledged that she can be a nosy gossip who likes to be in the middle of things, which is probably not a trait most of us like. I also found it interesting that we were very split on Caroline because as many people have said she was their favorite, we had just as many who said she was their least favorite. So it's also important to remember that as readers, we bring our own sensibility to what we're reading. So Christie's doing what she can to build characters in the way to have them read in the way she wants them to be read. But there is still going to be the influence of readers' opinions on how a character is received. It's part of what makes it also complicated. Well-drawn characters in literature, whether they are fully developed or not, likable or not, if they are well-drawn, meaning we can see them well, they're going to be those we can understand. We see why they do what they do. We understand where they're coming from, even if we don't agree with their reactions or decisions. We're going to like some characters more than others. We may even find some that we wish were real so we could hang out with them in real life. I definitely feel that way about a lot of the characters we're going to read this semester. But I wanted us to push ourselves beyond, we start by thinking about who we like, but then we go beyond it to think about, what we can understand about them and what the text is helping us understand about them. To help us consider why this level of character analysis is useful to our lives outside of a literature class, I'm attaching an article with this video called A Feeling for Fiction, which was written by writer and psychologist Keith Oatley. I do ask if you have a few minutes to read this article because I think it's one of those kind of reminders of why what we're doing here has bigger impacts in your life and in your education, regardless of whether you're an English major or not. All right, let's look ahead to Module 4. So with all this consideration of character, many of us are still quite torn on who we think murdered Roger Ackroyd. Well, the good news is you're about to find out. We are going to finish reading the novel this week. I do ask that you be mindful of not spoiling it for anybody else by giving away the ending, but I am really looking forward to hearing from all of you your reactions to how it ends. Meanwhile, we'll also be learning a little bit about plot structures. You're going to watch a Plot This video and quiz. We'll also have a reading journal. A couple things about the reading journals, just some reminders. Remember that you are selecting one prompt, not all the prompts. You pick one, and that you'll have a minimum word count. And in most cases, as in this week's case, it is at least 300 words. I did want to point out one thing. I'm clicking over here to our Detectives Toolbox. If you haven't noticed it, please see that we have these resources. Help, my essay journal post is too short, or help, it's too long. A lot of us, in most cases, we won't have maximum length, so that one may apply more to the essay. But the short thing, a lot of us are still really short of the minimum word count. And so I recommend checking out this resource that gives you specific things you can do to help develop your response more so that you can meet both the development and word count requirements. Then you're also going to learn about our critical analysis. This is our first big assignment. You're going to watch a video about it and then also take a quiz on the video and the guide. There's a tech support guide that goes with it that shows you kind of how we do different formatting for critical analysis. Remember, you'll be held accountable for all the information in there, so you'll want to review it carefully. You're going to take a quiz on all that just to make sure you understand the assignment, and then also do an evidence journal, which is a step of brainstorming. I'm asking you to pick a couple of options for what you might do your essay on, and then gather quotes. And then remember that after you gather the quotes, you are going to write a reflection. I'll let you read the directions on your own, but there is a reflection along with the gathering of evidence. And that's just to get you to start thinking about this essay because it is going to be due soon. So we don't want to wait to get started. All right, I think that is it for now. Please bring any questions about that assignment, the critical analysis assignment, to the Asmus Corbett discussion board. Drop me an email. Again, don't put it off. It's going to be due very soon, so we don't want to wait too long. All right, have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in Module 4. All right, bye.